Alright, and we've decided to do an additional live stream here because of the coronal mass ejection that everybody will be talking about. So please bear with me one moment. Alright folks, and the main reason that we did the live stream was because we wanted to be able to chat with folks to make this as concise as possible. So there's a significant coronal mass ejection that's just occurred, and it's actually occurring. So let me break out the chat here, and I encourage everybody to leave a comment. Let me just blow that up a little bit. Yeah, that CME is not Earth-facing. I would tend to agree. So it's, I think a small component will probably hit the magnetosphere, but it won't do very much. But again, it is still actually erupting too. So let me show you some other stuff here. Here's the view from the SMAsho. And you can see some ejecta. Hold on a minute. You can see some ejecta over here on the southeast. So if you check out this area right around here, you will see a little bit of ejecta come out at the same time, but that's mainly concentrated to the west of Earth. Here's a zoomed out view from the C3. So yeah, oh man. Well, it's not particularly Earth-facing, nay. So now while the Earth is orbiting in that direction, we've seen more significant ones that were much more Earth-facing than this that didn't do anything. So this isn't for anything to anybody to freak out about. I'm sure there'll be YouTube channels that are all over the place saying all kinds of crazy things. The end is here. Repent now. Repent now. I mean that it's not particularly Earth-facing. And keep in mind, some stuff happened on the opposite side of the sun at the same time. So if you look over here, this is stereo A again now. Earth is out in this direction. Unlike SMAsho, which is in between Earth and the sun. And if you look out in this direction, you can see there was some ejecta coming out that way too. So it's this event here, first of all, it's not even completely done disconnecting from the corona yet. But I think it is almost complete. There's a dense part right at the end there. You see, it looks like that's the moment of highest density, right about there. 1539 today. So, what can you do? I didn't know I'd have to do a second video, but anyway, there you go. Yeah, everybody leave a comment. Let us know what you think. By the way, there's a great view here from HelioViewer as well. And we've made some custom videos of that. And there's one of those. And let me just bring the chat back up again. again, everybody who wants to say whatever and appear on the channel, feel free. Yeah, we don't always do the YouTube live streams because it's a little bit more of a pain than Twitch. Twitch is just better software. So, and since we're paid like about 2 cents per hour to make these videos on YouTube. By the way, if you check on BitChute, I'm told by Smash staff that we're trending over there on the science and technology sections. So right, it might give a glancing blow, but it's nowhere near a direct hit. Keep in mind, it's very, very large, so you can see the Earth scale in that image there. The Earth is a tiny little dot, but keep in mind it is also along the solar equator, very close to the solar equator. And you can see the way ejecta kind of bubbles out of there. By the way, here's the C3. So there's the zoomed out view. And so that's some proper coronal mass ejecta there. Keep in mind, folks, it looks completely differently when it's Earth facing. An Earth facing CME would look like this, and it would just get less and less bright. It's not facing Earth. It's not facing Earth. A small part of it might be. It could cause a little bit of solar wind telemetry. So, for instance, here I'll draw you the kind of thing that you might see from that kind of coronal mass ejection. From that kind of coronal mass ejection, you might see like a little density spike like this, and then a little speed spike at the same time, like this, right at the same time. If you see a signature like that where the speed and density match, that's what you typically see from a coronal mass ejection, a little tiny one. And also, if anything strikes, also the proton flux would be a thing. I've got it somewhere. The proton flux. You know, if you see a real coronal mass ejection strike, you're going to see a big proton event. So that's something else to keep an eye on. And by the way, solar hydrogen nuclei are protons. So yeah, everybody, you know, leave a comment. Let us know anything else you'd like us to talk about. I'll bring up some meteorology stuff real quick because I loaded up some images. Here are the Americas. By the way, if you want to check out these tracks, it's soundclick.com/goldencatproductions. This one's called Hemi's Here. And I think you can download that for 99 cents. Nope, I stand corrected. Perhaps that one's not for sale. I gotta call my agent about that one. Check it out, Gem Cutter's been all the way up to number 40. Molybdenum 99's been up to 36. Nice. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening over there. Cheers. Here's some meteorology stuff. Let's look at the visible satellite for once, since we usually make videos when it's dark out. At least most of the content is created when it's dark out. The best time to do astronomy, when it's dark out. And look at the flux-gas clouds everywhere. Nice. Have you ever seen clouds suddenly evaporate and then suddenly recondense? Well, there's a bit of that going on right now. Check it out. We got incredibly flux-gas clouds right above my head. I want to see this. And we'll look at those stormy areas too, but check it out. Not everything's electric, but some stuff is. So this is what happens when you have stagnant humidity. When the humidity just sits at the same place, you get to actually see what's going on as a result of the Hall currents in the atmosphere. Those who argue and say those are wind currents are correct. Those are wind currents, but when you see Lichtenberg patterns that line up with tributaries, it's not a coincidence. Anyway, let's see what's going on in northern Missouri. We've got a system on top of a system. You can see these wispy clouds. That's an upper level low, traveling over some just basic moist hot air. And by the way, if you are into riding bikes, moist hot air is the fastest air to ride your bike in. This is why we like it when it's incredibly hot and humid out. It seems crazy, but the bikes go very fast. So since you have to measure somehow, we prefer to go very, very fast. And that's just how it works. For the same reason a hot air balloon floats, hot, humid air is faster. So, in other words, anybody doing a time trial right here will see very fast times. Anyway, let's zoom back out. I want to look at this system off of the coast of North Carolina. It's very interesting. And it's going to affect my weather in the next 2 days. Great visible satellite images here. So, and this is all caused by stagnation because of the jet stream. Allow me to explain. So you see the way the jet stream is splitting right here, and it's leaving a bunch of relatively low pressure, hot, moist air in there. And then I'm drawing a face, a mean face, with reptilian pupils and fangs. Oh my God! Please don't go out and drive like an idiot because because you think you're in the southern hemisphere. Anyway, I love the swampy weather, and bring it on. Swamp it up. I guess I'll show you some actual rain forecasts for once, since I usually refrain, but today I'll proceed. How about some tidbits of the tropical variety? Oh, and we're scheduled to get plastered. That's too far ahead, dudes. Anyway, we're expecting some more hot, humid weather on Saturday, and for that, we thank you. So for everybody wondering if it's going to rain in eastern Pennsylvania and northern New Jersey and so on, the answer is yes. Let's see what's going on now. I find the mobile version better at windy.com. Let's see. So there we are now. Nice. Bring out pressure maps. Not too exciting. And there's a pretty good view of the Central Atlantic. Fantastic resolution there on that. Getting some counterclockwise rotation a little bit. Very high res. Cheers. All right, and what are our viewers talking about? Yeah, who's going to get hit Neptune? That's a good question. That's a good question, Nabo J. Let's ponder that. So, stereo A. Whoops. Stereo A is someplace around here. Stereo B is someplace around here. The coronal mass ejection, yeah, pretty much. It's more headed that way. I mean, keep in mind, of course, the Earth is rotating this way, so we are going toward it. And there's some diffused part that's probably going like this. It's very hard to say. I mean, there's no way to measure what all those protons are doing. So when the sun does a coronal mass ejection, right, the view from stereo A, you're out here, you're looking in this direction. What we see is basically perpendicular. You're only looking at this plane. So if what you're looking at is shaped like this, you wouldn't notice any difference to if it was shaped like this. Or if it was shaped like this. You would not be able to tell from the perspective of stereo A. That's why we need to use the SOHO, LASCO, and stereo A at the same time. So, you know, SOHO is at Lagrange point 1, in between the Earth and the Sun. Stereo A is at Lagrange point 5. And anyway, good point, Nabo J. Yeah, lots of cloud nucleation going on, and these are days of chemtrails. Never before will you see so many chemtrails. People will claim every plane in the sky is blasting chemicals on purpose. See, because when the atmospheric conditions are perfect, what happens is you get a big low pressure behind the plane that stays in place because of stagnant, hot, moist air. Hot and moist. It's a cyclist's favorite way for the air to be. Unless we're so aerodynamic that we don't want to go fast, but preferably, most people prefer to go fast. Now, I have no idea what you mean by a cloud nucleation. I mean, by a bike riding anime. I have no idea what that means. So I am super fascinated, but instead I'm just going to look at a 304 angstroms video. And it shows a great image of that collapsing, well, not collapsing, ejecting filament. Nastu, I really don't need to look at the ISWA spiral. It's based on entirely conjecture. And again, for the 80th time, we're actually working on a system to be a little bit more scientific about measuring it. But a little bit of extra funding would be perfect for that because, again, we make like 2 cents per hour to make these videos. The thing about weather prediction is when you try to forecast the weather in an extremely stagnant air mass, you got to be really, really good. So just to show you what I mean here, and specifically where I'm located, this is the kind of weather that makes and breaks meteorologists right here, because some of us don't know what we're doing, and others operate well above our pay grade. So you've got a weird stagnation here because the air mass is going to tend to pull toward this low pressure. So this low pressure down here is going to tend to pull everything toward it. And you can see this thing's rotating toward it. This thing's getting pulled toward it. And this stagnant air here is rather unaffected. Why? Because there's a lot more mass in these dry air regions. So this thing is pulling on these things, and it's pulling this dry air. So you're getting extreme wind shear in these areas, and I don't know. So as this thing comes up the coast, it has a very strange channel, and the jet stream is too far to the north. You can see the southward breakdown of the jet stream happens like right here, where this is going like this, off to Newfoundland. So it's, I do not disagree with what Tropical Tidbits was just showing as far as that forecast, because, again, you've got this deflection, and there's nothing to move this dry air around. This dry air is just hanging out. It's like, I am a high pressure, and screw you. I'm going to rotate clockwise, and you can't do anything about it. This is a weaker high pressure zone here, but there's not a lot for it to do battle with. So you see the way there's moist air. It's not a real low. It's just moist air here. Moist, hot air. Moist, hot air. And by the way, it is a strange path, but it doesn't mean it's not caused by global warming or carbon dioxide, if you're wondering. All right, so anything else we should talk about? Let's see. Real-time solar wind. No monkey business with that, really. And again, that coronal mass ejection happened at about 2 o'clock. And we do see a small spike here in the solar wind telemetry, which really isn't a surprise. And it's a prime example of how you don't need to see solar flares or sunspots to have large ejecta. Let's bring up one more here, the 131 angstroms. I haven't viewed this myself even one time yet, because when you're as busy and underpaid as I am, it's requires effort. So transcribe that one, Google. Anyway, thanks for everybody viewing on Google, aka YouTube, an Alphabet property, or whether you're viewing on BitChute. And of course, to our Twitch viewers, great view of the North Polar region here in 131, little active-ish region up there, the kind of thing you see when the sun's ramping back up into more significant levels of activity. Oh, and one more thing, 94 angstroms. There are some anomalous looking features in there, and it's clearly a calibration of the instruments. So you can see right here there's like a 90-degree angle. See this 90-degree angle? This thing is going to kind of rotate. See that? You can see that thing rotating at the same time as all the shaking's happening. And that's because of some kind of focusing of their aperture or something like that. It's clearly, you can see in the lower right, and that kind of rotates around. That's some sort of a focusing process or something like that, with as far as the aperture on the SDO instrument for sure. So anyway, what does this mean? Can I review a bike riding anime? I guess I can review a bike riding anime. I don't know what that means. Send me an email. And anybody can send me an email if you like. It's smAsho@gmail.com. And thanks for tuning in, folks. What am I looking at? Okay. Thanks for tuning in. I figured I wanted to do a follow-up on the daily space weather videos because, of course, you're going to, the sky is falling and so on and so forth and yada and yada and yada. So anyway, we may see a KP of 3 from that or something like that for a fleeting period of time. It's not particularly Earth-facing. Don't listen to Gina or anybody like Mr. MBB333 telling you it's caused by Borg spheres or whatever today's completely insane rantings about space are. Drop me a line. Again, anybody who wants to contribute, talk about actual science subjects and so on, send an email, smashomash@gmail.com. And visit the links below the video, of course. Perhaps help support the channel and increase the probability that these videos will continue to exist. Anyway, I've been smAsho, and I am out of here. Holy! All right. I'm out of here. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.